Oh man, finally. Do you want to know how long I've been waiting to talk about A Silent Voice? Well, the film came out like last September in Japan, so it's been over a year now. Thankfully, though, before the end of the month, there will be multiple showings of the film across the US, and if you're interested in watching it, there will be a link down in the description so that you can find a showing near you. No showings in Canada, though, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. This is not a paid advertisement or anything, by the way. This is just me who really loves this film, wanting to make sure that you guys have a chance to watch it if you can. I recommend watching it because A Silent Voice does something that I love anime for doing. It tells a story that I don't see in other places. In this case, it's a story that revolves around a young girl who is deaf, and we don't normally see the deaf represented in anime, at least not to this extent. But this film isn't even really about being deaf, but more so a much greater problem that comes to light as a result of it. How this is all told is why you should watch it. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Arcada, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Today, the 2016 anime film, directed by Naoko Yamada and produced by Kyoto Animation, A Silent Voice. Let's jam. The very rough synopsis for this film can be said in just a few sentences. The film follows around a young boy, Ishida, who, as a child, becomes the class bully to the new deaf girl named Shoko. Eventually, he goes a step too far in his bullying and becomes a target from the rest of the class. Fast forward to his teenage years, and instead of the outgoing, charismatic child that he was, he is now a quiet, withdrawn introvert. He meets up again with Shoko, and over the course of the film, needs to come to accept what he did and rebuild a relationship with this girl who just wanted to be his friend. That's the film in a nutshell, but of course, in this case, I find that the deeper meanings and the kinds of things that the film implies to be far more interesting. Take Ishida's bullying, for example. For a good while, his bullying was tolerated. His friends laughed and agreed with him. His teachers turned a blind eye to his actions. But as soon as he went just that one step too far, the whole dynamic changed in an instant. Suddenly, the same people who were laughing along with him are denying that they were even involved. Why would I do something so horrible? It's a cultural response to the problem that's like an elastic band. Like when an elastic is loose, that's when everything is normal. You start stretching it, and it's fine. It's still allowable, and this is the bullying. But you just take it that tiny bit too far, and society snaps back into place. That hurts. Society likes things to be normal, and anything it views as abnormal, it likes to poke and prod into becoming normal. Unfortunately, no matter how much you poke and prod a deaf person, they will not suddenly gain the ability to hear. But children, they don't get that. They see the problem, but they don't know what they should do about it, and clearly they didn't get any guidance from the adults in school, possibly because the adults don't know what to do either, so Shoko was ostracized. Ishida's problem is that he crossed the line from being one of the many to the one who stands out. It sounds stupid when I say it like that, but, welcome to society. Because he suddenly becomes abnormal in the amount and kind of bullying that he does. This makes the group snap back against him, and he doesn't know how to handle it. His world gets turned upside down, and he becomes the withdrawn introvert that we see throughout the latter half of the film. That's the beauty of the plot, though. It's not about society. On the surface, it's about this kid who now, as almost an adult, has to learn to take responsibility for his actions. He just doesn't know precisely how to do that. But really, it is about society, because it's society that's constantly telling him that what he is doing is wrong, while at the same time doing the exact same thing, just on a smaller scale. Which is what makes this film special. Like, older Ishida on his own is almost kind of a stereotypical protagonist, at least for this genre. He's an archetype that we've seen before in drama shows like with Kosei in Your Lie in April, or even Yuri from Yuri on Ice, to a point. But it's his history as this little brat of a kid that ties him down. It brings about this idea of passive versus active bullying that makes the audience reconsider what makes a good or bad person. Let's take another character, for example, Ueno, a girl from Ishida and Shoko's class, who was one of the many who joined Ishida with the bullying of Shoko early on. The difference being is that she was not affected by the same snapback that Ishida was, so she went on, and grew up thinking that she never did anything wrong in the first place. Fast forward to when they all meet back up later, and her first instinct is to, once again, bully Shoko. Sure, not in very obvious or malicious ways, she keeps to societal norms, but continues it when you'd really like to think she would have grown out of it. Shoko's deafness ended up shining a spotlight on some of the aspects that they as children and even as young adults communicated with one another but couldn't really address. They get faced with the problem of, well, this girl can't hear anything, and instead of listening in other ways and learning how to work around the problem, they start to shift blame onto more tangible things, such as the actions of others, without really understanding how they think. They weren't listening to their silent voice. The film's title can be attached to many different things. It's a description of the conscience, it's the desires of the characters, it's Shoko's entire being that she can't quite communicate properly with the rest of the cast. And by extension, the film doesn't always communicate with the audience. As an adaptation of a source material, there are things that the film cannot explain or adapt properly, and it just sort of fits in with how the show is being presented. There are several characters and minor events that occur, or in some cases don't occur, that lead to some confusing interactions if you haven't read the source material, but largely they don't distract too much from the overall story. Now, people, myself included, will praise the visuals of this film. The visuals play a very important part in the story itself. They have more significance in this film about not being able to listen to others. There are a lot of flashbacks and moments that felt like they were edited in the vein of like a music video, courtesy of Naoko Yamada, who worked on Kyoto Annie's music-focused series K-On! And developed a knack for music videos. Of course, that's not to say that the visuals are the be-all and end-all, and then the audio can just go off and cry quietly in a corner or something. No, the music is very concept-driven, the concept of perceiving sound presented with the film's odd approach to recording and mixing. Really though, the thing about the visuals and the score and sound mixing in this film is that you can get a lesser idea of it when someone like me is trying to explain it to you. So honestly, the best way to experience it is to just go watch the film and take it all in yourself. After which you can have someone explain it more in depth, which I'm not going to, because a good friend and part-time editor of mine, Abhi, has a full video on this very subject, so I recommend that you go and check that out when you have the time. Also, subscribe to his channel and follow him on Twitter and stuff, because he's a good dude. Now, for a while before I actually watched this film, I was worried about the constant comparisons that were made between it and another film from the same year, Your Name. Comparisons made by people trying to determine which film was objectively better. Having been a fan of the source material, I worried that it wouldn't hold up, and while there are some bumps in the road, perfection being difficult and all, this did end up being a far better adaptation of the original material than I expected. And really, not to knock Your Name or anything, because that on its own is a fantastic film, I still think I prefer this one. There are just particular ways that the story moves along that I enjoy, various things about its characters that I can relate to, and just the whole package is just so wonderfully enjoyable. So, as such, I would like to present a silent voice with a glass reflection rating of certified Frosty, a rating for only the best of the best, and those anime too important to ignore. It's a fantastic film that really reminds me of why I love Kyoto Animation as a studio, and why I enjoyed the original material so much. As I mentioned at the start, there are a number of showings that are going to be happening shortly after this video is released, so check out those, especially since there's no solid word on any kind of home video or streaming release of the film. Anime Limited has it up on iTunes in the UK, and Mad Men has picked up in Australia and New Zealand, but I haven't found anything for North American audiences yet besides this theatrical run done by 11 Arts. So if this video has made you at all interested in it, and I hope it has, please go and check it out. But now, of course, onto some quick alternate anime recommendations. Well, first off, because the two keep getting intrinsically linked, the first recommendation should be fairly obvious due to the notoriety as another big anime film of that year, and that is Your Name. Again, another fantastic film that's worth checking out, and thankfully will be out on home video next month for you to pick up if you haven't seen it yet. Second recommendation, if you are in the mood for a romance series that has less of a personal anxiety bent of its main protagonist, then try Ore Monogatari. It's a romance so sweet and so delicious it might just kill you with love. Really though, just watch it, it's really good. And hopefully between those two, you should find something to your liking. And that's it for me. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, please go and watch Silent Voice. It is a really, really good film, and I want more people to see it. As always, I would like to thank my patrons for supporting these videos, as without you, they would not be possible. In particular, I would like to thank Robert Chumzai, Calhoun Boy, Siri Yamako, Victor Ekmark, Joshua Garcia, and Yunru Dovahqueen for being especially awesome. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.